Hi guys, and welcome back to another Premier League prediction video. Last week we got one score correct, Burnley losing 2-0 against Manchester City, and this week it's the big one. It's the massive match in the title race that could end up deciding it, Man City taking on Liverpool. If you're excited for that game, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get into the predictions. And starting off with Newcastle versus Wolves. Now Newcastle were unbeaten in 9, but they've lost 3 in a row, and their latest loss, 5-1 against Tottenham. Wolves, they've won 3 out of their last 4, and they won 2-1 against Villa in their last match. Still in contention for European places as well. So, they've still got something to play for. Newcastle, I think, only need 1 win probably and they're safe. Probably 1 win and a couple of draws. About 5 points and they'll be guaranteed safety. So I think Wolves have more to play for. And I think Wolves will get a win here. Away at Newcastle, I think Wolves will try and keep everything tidy at the back. Keep Newcastle out and just catch them with some quality in attack. So I'm going to go Wolves to win 1-0. Everton take on Man United next. And Everton, they've lost 7 out of their last 8 games and lost a crucial relegation battle 3-2 against Burnley. If they'd have drawn that game, they'd have kept a 4-point gap on Burnley, but they lost it. Burnley now 1 point behind them, breathing down their necks, and Everton have a terrible run-in for the end of the season. Could Everton actually get relegated? Put down in the comments down below if you think they will. Man United, they drew their last game 1-1 against Leicester, and they've drawn 4 out of their last 8. So maybe that will give a bit of hope to this Everton side that they might be able to get a point at home against Man United. But I also think Everton are in a terrible space at the moment. Man United are a strong side when they're, fully flowing. And they actually haven't lost many league games at all under Ralph Rangnick so far. They've just drawn far too many. So I think Man United, if Ronaldo's back playing, they've got players like Sancho as well that have been in good form recently. I think Man United have the quality easily. It's just whether they can put it into practice. And I think they will. I'm going to go Man United to win 2-1. And next up, it's 2 teams in very different form. Arsenal take on Brighton. And Arsenal, they've won 6 out of 8, but they lost their last game 3-0 against Palace. It was a day to forget for Arsenal, but Palace, taking nothing away from them, they were brilliant on the day. Brighton, they have lost 6 in a row, and then they went to Norwich, at home against Norwich. You'd expect them to win. Absolutely dominated them, missed a penalty, plenty of chances, but couldn't really put anything on target. Drew 0-0. So it's very disappointing from Brighton, and they'll be glad that they had a lot of points already in the bag before this terrible run of form, because Brighton are not looking like they're going to do anything for the rest of the season. They're really, really struggling. So I'm going to go Arsenal to win 2-0. Southampton take on Chelsea next. And Southampton, they drew 1-1 against Leeds after 3 losses in a row. So they haven't been in great form after they were in a very, very good vein of form. But Southampton again, like Brighton, they've got enough points in the bag when it mattered. It doesn't really matter now, even if they don't get many points from now to the end of the season. They've achieved their goal, Premier League safety. That's what a lot of these clubs aim for, staying in the Premier League, getting that Premier League money. Chelsea, they lost their last game 4-1 at home against Brentford. It was only their 2nd loss in all competitions at home this season. And just, didn't expect that at all. And then their next game was against Real Madrid in the Champions League. They were at home. They lost that 3-1 as well. So they're struggling at home a bit now, which was one thing that they could always rely on. For this game, it's a difficult one to call, but I've got to back the quality. I've got to back the team who, actually have something to play for still. So I'm going to go Chelsea to win 2-1. Watford take on Leeds next in an important game down at the bottom of the table. Watford lost their last game 2-0 against Liverpool. but they're only 3 points off safety. And, they have got a chance when they've got games like this still to play. Leeds, they are unbeaten in 3, won 2 of those, and you've got to think now they're only a couple more wins, if that, off safety. I think Watford are going to win this and make it even more interesting at the bottom. I think Norwich are gone, and then I think it's going to be between Watford, Burnley and Everton for, that one safety position, the other 2 going down. So it's going to be tight, and I think Watford will just edge this game because I feel like they have more to play for. Obviously they do because they're in the thick of a relegation battle. And I'm not saying that Leeds are just going to go off the ball because they think they're safe. But I just think Watford at home in a fixture like this will be able to get the upper hand. They've got some good attacking players. So I'm going to go Watford to win 2-1. Villa take on Spurs now. And Villa, they've lost 3 in a row. And the latest was a 2-1 loss against Wolves. Spurs, they've won 5 out of their last 6. And they did beat Newcastle 5-1 in their last match. And now look like the prime candidate for that 4th position and a Champions League place next season. Spurs have really came out of nowhere because Man United were there. Then Arsenal looked in a great position. They were 4th with quite a few games in hand. But, Arsenal's games in hand were difficult. And Spurs have just sort of taken control now a bit. And Spurs will fancy themselves to, get this spot because they have the best manager out of those teams. They have the best striker out of those teams. Well, Ronaldo's a good striker, but I don't think Man United are going to get that spot. And I just think with the way Kane, Son and Kulusevski are as a front 3, they're going to take some stopping. And I do think that Spurs will probably end up getting that top 4 space now. But again, 2 weeks' time, it could all be different. However, for this fixture, I'm going to go Spurs to win 3-1. Brentford take on West Ham next. And Brentford, they've won 3 out of 4. They were slipping down the table, but they've really picked themselves up. You've got to say Eriksen's had a great impact on this team. But, players coming back from injury, Ivan Toney being the main one, has really picked them up. And they're now looking like they're going to be safe, which is a great achievement for Brentford. And an even greater achievement was beating Chelsea 4-1 away last week. What a result for them. Did not expect that at all. I don't think anyone saw that coming. But an absolutely massive victory for Brentford. And it's sort of what you saw at the start of the season from Brentford. They were playing very well. And they were quite unlucky in a few of their losses. But then injuries hit them and they went into bad form. But yeah, they look like they're out of that and they're going to be safe, which was the goal at the start of the season. They're playing a West Ham side that they did well in their last match. They won it 2-1. And, they're still fighting for a Europa League spot. So they're very much, fighting for something. They've got a lot to play for, whereas Brentford don't. But I do think Brentford being at home gives them that advantage. Brentford at home have been great in the league this season. And I do think that Brentford will get something here in an entertaining draw. I'm going to go for a score I wouldn't usually go for, but 2-2. Next up, it's 2 teams on 37 points fighting for best of the rest. Leicester take on Palace. And I think there will be best of the rest because Wolves are too far away now in 8th for them to catch. So this is a big game in terms of, getting that top half finish. Because Leicester have finished there a lot recently. Palace obviously haven't. So it's going to be an interesting game. Leicester, they drew 1-1 with Man United. Probably unlucky that their second goal got disallowed. Because to me, there wasn't much in that at all. And I do think that, it was quite strange for that to end up being disallowed. And I really didn't see what the issue was. But it did. They drew 1-1. And they're just hoping for a top half finish now. Palace have only lost 1 out of their last 8 games. And they won 3-0 against Arsenal in their last match. Which was a massive, massive result for them. How do I see this one going? Well, I think it's going to be down the middle. These two teams are very, very well matched up, I think. So I'm going to go 1-1. The next two matches are massive at both ends of the table. First up, the relegation battle. Norwich taking on Burnley. And Norwich, they'd lost 6 in a row. Then they drew 0-0 with Brighton. But they were not good in that game. They were dominated and they were very lucky to get away with anything. If Brighton were 1% more clinical, Brighton win that game. It was literally that ridiculous that Brighton didn't score. They had a penalty, Neil Maupay missed it. I think they had about 30 shots or something stupid, but only about 3 or 4 on target. So, yeah, Brighton really, really weren't clinical at all, and they let Norwich off the hook. Sort of gives Norwich, an opportunity. Their last game, they didn't lose. Can they build on that against someone that they're in a relegation fight with? I'm not too convinced. Burnley, they had lost 4 in a row, but then they won that crucial fixture 3-2 against Everton. They came back from 2-1 down, and it was a massive win for them because they closed the gap to safety to 1 point, which is really, really good for Burnley. If they'd have drawn it or lost it, they'd have been 4 points off if they'd have drawn it, but they'd have been 7 points off if they'd lost it, and then you're looking at it thinking, I don't think they're going to survive. Massive, massive result for Burnley. Really helped them out. And I do think they've got a chance of staying up now. In this one, I'm going to back Burnley. I think Norwich are already gone. Although Norwich at home might have they have the crowd behind them. They might be able to do something. I don't see them winning it. I think it's either a draw or Burnley. And I'm going to go all out on a Burnley win, 2-1. And the last stop is a potential title decider. Man City taking on Liverpool. What a massive match. Kind of wish this was even later in the season. If this was one of the last 2 games, then it could be even bigger. But Man City won their last game 2-0 against Burnley. And, they're 1 point ahead of Liverpool. They're at home, so they've got that advantage. They are good at the Etihad when they play against this Liverpool side. Liverpool, they look unstoppable at the moment. They've won 10 Premier League games in a row. They've won their last 3 all by a 2-0 margin. So, Liverpool are looking really good. I really don't know how to call this. It's difficult because I think if Liverpool were at home, I'd back them to win it. But Man City being at home, this game can throw anything out. These two sides are so good that if one team makes a mistake, the other team capitalises. And that can really, set the tone for a game. I was interested in the week. Benfica versus Liverpool. I watched quite a bit of that match. Well, the second half I watched all of as well. And Benfica really seemed to do something to that Liverpool defence that I haven't seen a lot of teams do. They were getting in behind. It was just a shame that, Darwin Núñez kept falling over basically, but he was getting into good positions. They were really getting in behind, breaking the lines. And this Man City team obviously have the quality to do that. It just depends how Man City play. If they play with the ball like they always do, if they try and dominate the ball, Liverpool will sit back and get them on the counter. I think in a game like this, you want to be the counter-attacking team because Liverpool play such a high defensive line that if you've got a player like Phil Foden, who has a lot of pace to get in behind and he's very good on the ball, Mahrez as well, another good player like that. De Bruyne, his running power is ridiculous. You don't think he's that fast, but he just breezes past people. If you've got, even if it's like a front 3 of those 3 players, I don't think you want the ball as much. You want Liverpool to come onto you, have a high line, you get in behind, and you've got players clinical enough to score. I'm very undecided on how to call this. I think for safety purposes, I'd go down the middle and I'd go an entertaining game. But I don't know, part of me, I feel like I'm convincing myself that Man City could get these points, these vital points. Possibly, take a bit of confidence off Liverpool and make them, not as clinical, make them doubt themselves. But I think for the purpose of making the title race more interesting, I'm going to go down the middle, high scoring, entertaining match, 2-2. So those are my predictions for these upcoming Premier League fixtures, but I want to know, what are yours? Let me know down in the comments. Please like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more Premier League content. And don't forget, check out my other content, F1, Football Manager, Championship predictions. There's plenty of stuff to do. I'm trying to upload a Football Manager every couple of days, and that seems to be going well at the moment and I'm really enjoying it. I hit my first 300 view video the other week. My last championship prediction video got over 300 views. I think it's on about 315 as of recording, so I'm very, very happy with that. I was also on about 65 subscribers at the end of March, and I'm now on like 77 as of recording, so it's been a great start to the month. Keep it up. I really appreciate all of the support on the channel.